for. Are you nervous? You look nervous. You're looking around cameras.
No, I was just looking at the light.
Yeah, all the cameras. We're not weird. We promise.
No,
sometimes we're weird.
No,
we're weird.
Yeah.
Are you?
I am.
Well, that's a great way to start. So we have on the podcast today David and Lizzy Rex. Actually, you introduce how you, because I met them through you.
Yeah. So actually, Lizzy and I met through Instagram, right?
Yeah. Instagram.
Yeah.
Who reached out to who?
I reached out to her.
Lizzy stalked her.
Did you?
Yeah.
Nice. What'd you say?
I think you emailed me.
I emailed
right?
you. We were thinking of moving up here.
Do you want to be friends?
Yeah.
She's
like, I don't know anybody in Boise.
I don't know. One of the kids was on like a clothing, I don't know, something child related.
Oh, yeah.
And then
maybe.
I started looking. It was before you were like a big influencer.
Ooh.
I'm not.
We have fake jobs. That's not like
We like to pretend.
we have nothing tangible to show on paper, like a bachelor's degree in internet or anything.
In internet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you guys were planning. I think you emailed me and were like, "Hey, we're planning to move to Boise. Just wondering, like, schools, neighborhoods, all those kind of things." And I remember, I think Jack was still a little, and I was like, I don't know any like schools or neighborhoods like that are family friendly. Like, we live in this area, Meridian, but like my kids weren't in school yet. I remember, you asking, but I don't know what else you had asked also in the email.
I think that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
It was just like feelers and how people were, and then
because you guys,
and then I was like, let's meet at the park when we move up there.
had you guys been here ever?
We visited friends that lived here prior to us moving. We had come out a couple times.
Yeah, twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And which part of California, right?
Yeah, we're from Phoenix, but we were
okay.
living in Santa Monica before we moved here. And I said to her one day, I'm like, let's go open a restaurant in Boise, Idaho. And she was like, what? And so we flew up here in August. It was like in August, and it was fire season. It was, we landed. She's like, what? No.
Is that 2018?
No, it was 2015.
15.
We got here in 2017. And anyway, she wasn't really sold. And then we came back, and we drove around like the neighborhood we lived in. And she's like, okay, I get it. And so we just
depends where you are.
Wheels in motion. Yeah.
He visited me when we were first getting married in February.
Oh, so
that
Seattle.
was the worst. Coming from Seattle, where I'm like always raving about Boise weather and how beautiful it is, and he comes in February where it's like what is it called? Inversion.
It
right?
was an inversion. It was weird.
Yeah,
it's like,
and it was
like there's not it's a city of trees, right? And it's like there's not a leaf on a single tree. And we're on Eagle Road, and I could look 10 miles ahead of me. And I was like, it's just not even a flatness. And I'm like, does the world end after that, like, foothill?
It's like post-holidays. There's no snow, but it's just like cold and dreary. And it was always that like overcast weather. And I was like, I promise it's not always like this.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't like it.
Like those times are quick.
Yeah,
but
they
like
are.
there are definitely times where like if you're like trying to sell someone in this
Yeah.
city, like you want like right now is a great time. To visit.
Yes. Fall.
We have
spring.
4 weeks of that for sure.
Yeah. You just came at the wrong time.
What made you go, hey, let's go check out Idaho and like start something like this?
So when I grew up, my grandparents had a cabin in Salmon. My grandfather was a dentist. He used to build airplanes in his garage, and we would fly airplanes
so cool.
and spend the summer in Idaho. So that was like the Idaho connection.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't know. It was just a weird gut feeling.
We had really good friends that had moved here and loved it.
Yeah.
And then
Tanner and Lindsay Corwin, they have a Ford dealership, and Tanner takes credit for essentially for us being here. He's partially right, So we came and visited him and Lindsay, and they were like they kind of like there was always a bedroom to stay in, so we would come up and visit and
And how many times did you guys visit Boise before moving out here?
Twice.
Yeah. Wow.
And bought a house sight unseen.
That sight unseen.
No way. In 2017?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so during that time, we had just like been kind of talking and I think like DMing on Instagram too. But then I think
once we moved here, we met. It was the summer, and we met at the water park.
Which one?
The boys.
I remember this for some reason.
Behind the village.
Yeah.
The little splash pad?
Splash pad.
Yeah. Oh gosh, my memory's
Well, I think we lived at our first house or second house. It's so funny how gals work with girls. Like they'll be able to like reach out to each other.
What were we wearing? Yeah.
You're like, you'll be able to like hit somebody up that you don't know. Be like, hey, let's put something together. You have kids the same age as us. Guys don't do that. Yeah. Guys don't like. We kind of like the idea of it's like, hey, come over. You like UFC? I like UFC. Come over. But then you're like, but I'm tired.
I think girls can
I don't want to text him.
I think with girls, I don't know if it's the way we text, but you can feel out what kind of personality they are based on how they text. Like if they use a lot of exclamation points, they probably like bubbly, you know? If they use emojis, you can, I don't know. I feel like you can kind of feel it out.
Do you do forensics like that as well?
Cool.
Do you go like, oh, she's cool. She used like.
Yeah, I think you can get a vibe.
Yeah. But also being open.
Be really wrong though.
Yeah, that's true.
Wrong vibe.
Do you get vibes?
I don't.
Do you use emojis?
I don't use. I try not to. I try not to use emojis.
I use them all the time.
I mean, obviously, you can infer.
Does he remind you of Russell Crowe? I keep staring at you and I go, what's the actor?
Do.
And I was like, Russell Crowe.
Never heard
You
that.
never got that one?
No.
Russell Crowe.
That's a compliment.
Isn't he kind of a dick? Can I?
Well, no. We're not going to base him on that. He's a good-looking dude.
We based him off the movies he's in, which he's been in some great movies.
Is he a dick?
I'm not saying that you're calling me a dick.
No. Are you saying like he's as much of a dick as Ellen is a dick? Like they're saying like she's such a she's everybody who works for Ellen says that she's like really rude and mean and
I didn't know that was.
No, that's a huge thing.
You know what? I don't know that. I retract that.
No. This is where we do conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
So we
all of a sudden. Speculation is the way we live our life.
Right. Okay, so yeah, so that's how you guys met, and then the first time I've met you guys was actually at your guys' restaurant that you guys.
Well, we asked you to build a table for us.
You did.
Oh, that's right.
You did. And then my buddy Josh did. Now, did I recommend Josh or you found Josh?
No, you recommended.
I recommended Josh. Okay, I forgot that actually because I go around town going like, my buddy Josh built that table at the Wylder. Did you guys see that Wylder? They're like one of the best restaurants. I was like, yeah, see that table? Yeah, he built it. And then I forgot that
we weren't high profile enough for you at the time.
No.
I'm gonna give you to this
it's
guy.
not even that. Here's the situation. The amount of people, including my relatives, that go like, "Hey, can you build that?" And the answer is always like, "Yeah, if I had the time." But like, my life or my paychecks revolve around the content calendars that we create for these brands, right? And so it's like, it's not necessarily can you build X, Y, or Z. It's like, hey, the brand already agreed to this. Like so you're almost like you have a honey-do list from brands. That's basically how that kind of works.
You just don't have the time.
And like there's like, for example, we had shades that were hanging right here or laying right there, and then we have some shades in our bedroom. And
haven't hung them up yet.
And then and she's like, hey, I actually told you today. I was like, hey, what are we doing with those shades? She goes, oh, you're hanging them up. I go, when? I don't know when I'm hanging my own shades. I know when we're finishing 5 videos ahead, but I don't know when we're hanging shades on. So I feel bad telling no to people because I'm like, I just don't have the time to even build for.
I think also, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but back then, I think you were like nervous to build for other people too because you didn't want like.
Yeah.
You were still
starting.
That was like, well, I think you had your YouTube going, but it was before.
How many years ago was this? Do you remember?
It would have been 2016.
Yeah.
Oh. Josh did great. We love that table.
Yeah. Table's great.
Yeah, that was actually before things really did take off for YouTube because YouTube didn't really work for me until the last maybe 2 to 3 years. 3 years
you
probably.
You were still at the hospital.
I was still at the hospital. Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes more sense. You're right.
Yeah.
There is this level of insecurity when you build for people because everything you build is all on a premise of theory unless you were like taught under a master carpenter or a master woodworker and they're like, we're going to teach you joinery and this is a 100-year-old proven, 200-year-old proven method. Mm-hmm. When it's all self-taught, it's all theories. In fact, I have a coffee table in that bonus room and it was my first like big time, like big brand working sponsorship. And they're like, what can you do for our thing? And I was like, oh, I'll make this coffee table. It's like mid-century modern. Yeah. And then I use this weird technique and I would never build it for anybody else because I thought it would fall apart. Well, it's been 7 years now that it's still holding up. So it's this like internal, like self-conscious thing. There's like, is this going to break? And I don't want to do this thing.
Or are they going to like it? And then like, you know, people are going to be eating on it.
Because I've done that. I've done that. I remember when I was still trying to get things off the ground, I would take every and any job, even if I didn't make a profit. But it was mostly to just like pay for that tool so I can do more stuff and put it on the social medias and all that stuff. And I remember somebody reached out to me and they go, hey, here is this like $2,000 West Elm dresser. It's like the Scandinavian style. And I was like, yeah, I think I can make that. So I started making it, and lo and behold, aesthetically, it looked like it should on the picture. But then, like, I delivered it, and like 3 weeks later, I get a call, and they go, hey, the drawers, they're not like lining up. Like, they kind of got like out of alignment. And I felt so terrible because here's these people who gave me their money, and I made this thing, and now I'm trying to fix this thing to make it right. And we made it right, but it was just so embarrassing to be like called back. And I was like, I never want to experience that again. Cause like, I don't want to have this internal, like, cause you also sometimes will build something for somebody and they never called you back, but they just don't express excitement. So they'll build something and they go, oh, cool, thanks. And here's a check. And you go,
but you're like, wait, do you love it? Or do you not love it?
Do you love it? Yeah. Cause you're in the same industry of like design and you go, I really hope you love this.
Like I need a little bit more, I don't know, show me a little bit more emotion.
And so sometimes you go like...
Some emojis.
Yeah,
exactly.
Some emojis, please.
That would be so helpful. And so you have to understand, like, yeah, sometimes maybe people don't articulate themselves like that. That's fine. Mm-hmm. But it's just internal, like, wrestling match I didn't want to do. Now, here's what I want to ask you guys is, first of all, how did the Wylder come about? Did you guys own a restaurant in California before or Arizona?
No, we ran them for other people.
Okay.
So, like, we were... like we've been in that industry since we were 16 years old.
When both of you?
Both of us.
Yeah.
And I made an off-the-cuff comment to a guy in California one day. I was like, I really want to open a restaurant in Boise. And he was like, oh, you should call this guy. He's a developer. He's in LA and he's got projects in Boise. So I called him just to get an idea, like what does it cost a square foot to build something up there? And he's like, that's funny you called, are you at a computer right now? And he sent me the Fowler project, which is where the Wylder is. Mm-hmm. And they got to see what we were doing, albeit for other people, but we were running other people's companies in Venice Beach. And so we had like a connection, and we flew up and looked at it, and that was it.
That was it.
And
so
they were
total
already,
chance.
like, in the process of building the building already, right?
They were.
Yeah.
They were. Yeah. It was in the Snowmageddon year,
mm-hmm.
And it was behind. And there was another tenant, I think, they had signed an LOI, like they were in process, and we were like, we really want to do this project. Mm-hmm. And, they're great partners.
Interesting. And you've ran them before, and this is your first restaurant that you've started.
That we've owned.
Yeah. And so you got into it like sight unseen in a city that you are not familiar with, in the neighborhood that you're not familiar with, and just like said, let's just do this?
Yeah.
That's essentially.
Yeah.
He knew he always wanted a pizza place.
Yep.
He worked at a little pizza shop in Colorado when he was going to school.
Yep.
And you guys were always like making your own like homemade pizza at home. I
ate pizza for a year straight until I was like, yep, nope, 2 times a week.
That's it. Yeah.
Well, she was like, quit making dough. There's dough everywhere. There's like dough
everywhere.
And like, we had a small.
Because you're experimenting, right?
Yeah. And we were cooking it on the barbecue out back.
Uh-huh.
We lived in this little tiny house directly under the Santa Monica airport.
Uh-huh.
And William was born, our son was born, and we were like, we've got to get out of here. Like, and we thought, do we go back to Phoenix? We made a short list. I went to school in Durango, Colorado. We talked about maybe Bend. And I'm like, I just have this gut feeling about Boise. And then things started to kind of happen.
Right.
And we came up and we looked at the space. And oddly enough, there's 2 pillars in the middle of the Wylder because they're support pillars. And Lizzy was like, we can't build a restaurant with these pillars. And I'm like,
I didn't even notice them.
Yeah,
I'm thinking of them right now.
Oh, yeah.
It's where it's like.
So you guys like worked around them.
Yeah, we just shoehorned things in there.
They're in the kitchen, right?
Yep, they're in the kitchen.
Yeah.
It worked out totally fine.
He always had like a hunch that location would be good. I was skeptical.
Yeah. Well, when we opened it, it was like the Fowler wasn't done. And so there was literally chain link fence around. Like our employees were wearing hard hats to come in for training. And when we opened,
yes, I remember that.
There was a construction fencing around the around the building.
You had to enter through scaffolding, I think.
You had to enter under scaffolding. But we're like,
it's just open. Yeah.
When it's your first project, it's not like you're that picky.
You
know, like we took what we could get.
And as soon as
you
can open it, the better.
Yeah.
But there had to be a level of fear, though, right? You say you're like, we'll take whatever we can get, but like when you put all your, I mean, I'm assuming you're putting all your eggs in one basket in this location that you haven't done, you're not familiar with. What were the fears behind it?
Well, it's like there wasn't. I mean, I don't know. We used to wake up in the fetal position at least once every 3 months, and I think if that's not happening, then there's not enough pressure,
Yeah, that's
Right.
true.
Yeah.
But we did laugh about it because we're like, yeah, we'll sign a personal guarantee. We have nothing. Like, what do you want?
What's a personal guarantee? Is that to the loan?
Yeah, like so when you sign a lease, like it basically says if we fail, you come after us, you get all of our assets. Well,
Really?
we had no assets, so
Does that affect?
go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Here you go.
Joke's on you.
Yeah,
seriously.
does that only legally affect the business aspect, or does that affect financial? So like, will that financially bankrupt you, or is that only just for like an LLC where like the company takes
Well,
it?
Fortunately, we haven't had to find that out, but it's a personal guarantee, so it's like it's
Your personal
it's
stuff.
our
They can come
personal
after
assets.
Wow, I didn't know that.
That is a crazy gambling bet.
We literally lit all the boats on fire. Is kind of what we told everybody. It's like,
Yeah, we
This
think
is
that's
all or nothing. Yeah.
yeah, that's real. We think that's important. Like you have to. There's got to be like a level of commitment. Like burn
All
the
in.
boats. Have you ever heard Tony
now,
Robbins?
No, explain that because I know burning the bridges, but I don't know burning the boats.
So like burning the boats it refers to like I think it was like Cortez or
Grab the microphone a little bit closer.
Some Spanish like conquistador or whatever. They landed on this shore. They had to take the island or they had to take this settlement. And so the story was that particular commander burned all the boats that they had sailed in on and said, "There's one way. You either take the settlement, you take the island, or you're done.
You're not going back."
Can't
And
go
so
back.
yeah, like you can. So we look at it like you can't have 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Like you've got to.
Yeah.
I mean, you can obviously you can do whatever you want, but it seems like something happens in like the
Yeah, 'cause you can
universe
only
or
move
whatever
forward.
when
Yeah.
you're like, okay, we're all in. Like
Yeah.
You have this finger on the pulse.
yeah. And so we
I feel like
opened
we've
it up.
experienced that too.
But I love that. I love that. Is that I've heard the saying "burn the ships," but it's more of like a pirate thing. Is that the same perspective, or is like burn the ships like
it's the same,
take
I
no
bet.
mercy?
Yeah, it's probably the same.
Okay.
Like you can't go back. Like
Yeah.
you either get it done or you die trying. That's it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
go on. So you lit all the ships on fire, huh?
Yeah, all the boats
is
were
it,
on
yeah.
fire. We bought the house. We were gonna. The worst case scenario is we live with we live with Lizzie's mom and dad, and we retool, but like we weren't gonna be in jail. We weren't gonna be dead. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
But
This is fake.
it wasn't like.
MDF.
So I mean, yeah, like, and it's kind of like our family motto is like, oh, that's a horrible idea. Let's
do it.
Let's
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
It doesn't make a lot of
you.
This
sense.
is like the fucking mentality, right? You're like, yeah.
Yeah,
Seriously.
you got it.
Why
Yeah.
not?
Yeah. And then like we landed in Boise, and Lizzie like took a pregnancy test and was pregnant with Vivian too. So we're like, just add that to the list of what we're doing.
So where did you cultivate this? Like we could just keep pushing forward mentality. Like is that cultivated? Because you went from like working for somebody and growing and managing their business to now starting your own thing. Was there certain people like Jocko Willink? Was it like books you read that like shaped this perspective of like we can't fail? Failure is just like thing that you define for yourself.
I think all those guys are great, like Goggins and
Yeah.
Willink and all those guys. Like I think you can draw a lot of like
Yeah.
inspiration from
Yeah.
Yeah.
all kinds of places, spiritual teachings, whatever. And so I think that, and we just luckily we've both been on the same page about that.
Mm.
Where it's
So
like, yeah, let's
did,
try it.
Did you both consume content to shape your mind like that, or was it just kind of something you've had for a long time and you're like, we just happen to find each other?
I think we just had it. I don't know.
You
both
did for
inspire each
sure.
other.
I like to read a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
And like
Cam Haines.
that
and
Emerson quote, like that Ralph Waldo Emerson quote is really important, where it's go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Live
Wow.
the life you've imagined. I think that's
beautiful.
really
Yeah, it's beautiful.
important.
Yeah. That's awesome.
We've had to shape that, and
Definitely.
we've been married for 9 years. Next year's gonna be 10, and I told her this like 2 weeks ago. I was like, the man that you married is like a completely different person than I am today, like in a good way. Like I am not anything remotely the same as I was before, and I think it's nothing to do but mental. Like I was mentally weak, and I thought like what you do is you go to school, you get a job, and this is what the rest of your life is, and then you do that, and you're like, okay, so this is my income for the rest of my life, like this right here, this number, and these are my freedoms. I work every weekend, like this is what it is. Okay, well, I don't want to do that.
12-hour shifts, every other weekend.
I remember with me, it was the cultivation behind it was like I was just starting to run like half marathons, and I'm consuming Goggins, and I'm consuming Cam Hanes, and I'm consuming all these like mentally tough guys, and they're talking about like even when you feel you're about to fail, like you can't even lift something or you can't do another thing, you're only like 40% of your like mental capacity.
Yeah.
And there's like a lot of truth in it. And then from
think
like
about that
perspective, things go. You go like, oh, let's burn the ship. So like I let my like I went to school and I like let my license expire. So like I can't go back. Like there's none of like, hey, to my directors, like, can I? There's none of that. So it's like, and this is a great line I heard is like, losers have plan Bs. Like winners don't have plan Bs. If you burn every bridge or your ships, and there's no plan B to go back to, then it's going to make you wake up and work twice as hard as the next competition to make sure that you never have to go back. And that's, I think, the greatest.
I think that's the point of it, is to burn those boats, is to not go back. Just keep going, moving forward or sideways.
Yeah.
Find something else.
So
I think you lit that fire in me, though. Like, I don't think I ever had that. I was always like at 50% of like what I thought I could do. And then I think being married to you, I think it is. A lot of it's who you're married to, the people you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
Well, too, when we were first married, like, we were living in this really expensive place and we didn't make enough money to pay our bills. And we were like literally at the time didn't really have any idea what was going on. We were direct deposit advancing paychecks to cover bills. And so like we had nothing and it was like we were completely happy. Like it doesn't matter. So it's like what's the point if you don't try? You know, you gotta try. But I think it's all those guys you were talking about, like it's good to have like those kind of people are like special.
Very special. Yeah. I just shared with her, and I love finding these little tidbits of like these people who are pushing the envelope and just like challenging their brain. And it's the gal, and I needed to look up her name. The gal, Jessie, I think she's married to Jesse Itzler, which David Goggins lived with him for a little bit to kind of help him shape. But she's the one that invented Spanx, for the company Spanx, right?
I don't remember her name either.
I don't remember her name, but she's on Shark Tank. So she said that, she goes, when I was, and I adopted this with our boys. Like, and I just started in the last maybe 2 weeks using this. She says, when I was young, me and my brother, or me and my sister, I don't remember what siblings were, but she goes like, my dad every day would ask us when we come back from school is, what did you fail at today? And we would try to find things. Maybe it was like a PE activity, maybe it was a school thing, and like what they failed. And he's like, as soon as they would share something, he would high five them and get really excited about it. And then she said when she grew up, she started realizing what her dad did was redefine the definition of failure. Failure is not the fact that it didn't work out. Failure is that you overcame your ability to give it a go. Like, try it. You overcame fear and failure. And it's like, so that's, I thought it was so interesting that you're almost like, you're almost recoding the genetic code of every human being. Like, and you start with your own
fear
kids.
and failure.
It's just a muscle, right? It's just like, it's just a process, you know, things come up and like, I think for us, like things come up and it's like, it's almost predictable. We're like, okay, we didn't know what it was going to be specifically, but we knew a challenge would come up. And then, you know, you work through it or you don't, but like, it's just a decision, you know, like it's not like any of us are any different from one another. And it really is all in the mind.
Right.
You know?
No, I agree. I think exercising that muscle is so important because I feel like before, if something would come up business related, I would just like break down and be like, this is the end of the world. I'm never going to move on from this.
Your examples would always be like, I have 3 clients lined up. There's no furniture. This is on back order for 6 months. That's on back order for 3 months. There's like, you just, that was your like day to day.
And then it was like, I'd come to him and be like, I don't know what to do. And then like over time, just exercising that like muscle in your brain, I remember having a few moments where I was like, I've been through this. This isn't the end of the world. Like, I've been through this. I came out fine. I know, like, this is what's going to happen. Okay, now what do we do? And so instead of, like, breaking down and just being done, you start finding the solutions to those problems. And that was
She doesn't know this, but like it's really predictable. She'll be like, I don't want to do this. I will have a breakdown, and then like I'll be like, okay, and then the next day she'll wake up and be like,
have an idea.
Let's do it.
I know. I just need to process
let's
sometimes.
Roll.
Yeah.
Do you guys have? So I believe the people who are good at handling difficult things usually put themselves in scenarios that help them practice doing those difficult things. So like with me and you, it's like, let's work out. Working out, you're doing something difficult that you don't want to do. Therefore, when something on paper comes your way that you're not happy about, it's easier to work through it. So you're putting yourself in difficult situations. Do you guys have something like that you do on a daily basis that you're like, I need this for my own mental health?
He has like a diehard routine.
Yeah.
I've lately, but I've been getting up really early and like I work out before the kids wake up and like to have that time to myself, and I feel like it's made a difference, at least in like my mental space.
Yeah.
By the end of the day, I'm just like a better human.
Yeah.
I live and die by the
Definitely.
routine.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just the same.
Now,
Yeah.
routine is what? Like wake up, the pen has to be there.
No,
like,
I'm not OCD. Like,
okay.
even on the way
I'm
here,
OCD.
she was like, I wish you were.
I wish you were a little more.
You said
deep.
that coming here.
You know?
Because right now, you're going to throw this on me right now.
But is it like the same?
Yeah. It's the same. Like I run. Well, I typically run, but like I meditate when I run. So like that, that's how I squeeze a 30-minute meditation.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that like that pays dividends over almost anything else. Is just, but that's right. All the solutions to our problems come up in meditation.
Interesting. I'm fascinated by meditation because that's something that I've never grew up around. But now as an adult, I keep hearing more and more people talk about meditation, but they always describe it differently, right? You got Tony Robbins talking about meditation about these like extreme breathing exercises. Then you have other people talking meditation about just sitting down. I think Matthew McConaughey is like, sit down, check in with yourself, think about things you're thankful for. Like, what's your level of meditation that you usually like?
So we subscribe to the theory of anything worth doing is worth doing poorly, right? Like just do it. Just start there. And so like I don't sit on a pillow or anything. Like I start to run. I don't listen to music or anything. And then when a thought, I just focus on running and the breath. And when a thought comes in, I envision it like water, and it washes out, and it goes until my thought comes back to the breath. And then thoughts come up, and it's really funny how like solutions pop up, like halfway in, right? Sometimes immediately, sometimes at the end. But like, I got home yesterday, and I was like, "You are not gonna like what came up in the meditation today." She's like,
Oh no, here we go again.
"Yeah," and I was right, but you know,
You didn't find a solution to.
I
the
felt like
OCD.
I felt like it was a solution. But, you know.
I felt like I was
To
going
be
to have a
clean.
mental breakdown.
Yeah.
Was it in regards to your dirty car or messy car? Or what
My
is
car
it?
is clean.
Oh, it's clean?
Yeah.
What was the reference to? I wish you were cleaner. What is that for?
He's always been messy.
Oh, it's like around the house or
Yeah.
something? Okay. I thought it was like a messy
Literally
car.
back
But your
the
car's
house today.
clean. Yeah.
He's just not
funny.
my level of OCD.
Yeah.
So
it's okay.
meditation is a level of just clearing the mind of anything but whatever you're doing or breathing? Is that what meditation usually is?
Yeah, it's just, it's exercising to shut the mind off.
Interesting.
Right? Like you can't control thoughts. Like if
Yeah.
you just try to meditate one time, like you don't originate your thoughts. They just come up. It's like if you're at the bottom of a river and you're like holding on to the like the river's flowing. Your thoughts are like the
going.
river, boats, like lily pad, whatever, a twig, right? So meditation is kind of the process of watching the things float by without judgment or it's just almost being aware
Yeah.
of thoughts.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. But it's not trying to forcibly think, like if you're like, we need to fix this table, right? Like if you sat there and looked at the table and you're like, okay, I need to come up with a thought. How am I going to fix the table? It's different than like stopping and going, you know what? I'm just going to breathe and see what kind of bubbles up.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. We've actually done that for a little bit, not meditation, but running without music to just kind of like clear the mind. So I think.
How long did you last? I did it more than you.
hard.
We did it. I was like, I think
I
you
need a
did it once.
podcast.
She's
Yeah.
like, she did it once. She was like, I'm
Well,
not doing
because
this.
it is like you have to train yourself to do that, and I wasn't very good at it.
It's funny. Like sometimes whether it's probably unsolicited, but like if I give somebody advice, I will literally be like, how often do you meditate? And nobody really takes that seriously. Like they're like, oh yeah, okay, that's a good idea.
It's like saying I'm praying for you. You're like, yeah, I don't know what that means. Yeah, what is that?
Yeah.
Right.
I think also like the word itself, there's such, I don't know, so many different like meanings behind it that people think it is. And
Okay,
so
yeah, connotations and stuff.
the connotations, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to like. It's probably hard to like say, "Hey, do you meditate?" Like without being like holier than thou.
Yeah, yeah.
But it really is
a
a
good.
It's really like a good. I mean, it solves problems. Like that's just been my experience. Like,
do you find the need for it is because our brains are so overly stimulated with technology and things and tasks in today's world that you need to find a way to like put some brakes on some of those neurons that are being firing?
I mean, all that stuff's probably pretty toxic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, it's hard to get away from it. So but it's not like it's a new, meditation's nothing new. I mean, people have been doing that and talking about the benefits of it for a long, long time. So I don't know.
I found, though I don't consider it meditation, I found like micro steps that I've been taking towards the idea of meditation is like in the morning, instead of when the alarm goes off, instead of just like jumping out of bed and going to the bathroom, brushing teeth, it's just like sitting there for like a minute to 2 minutes and just kind of blinking and thinking and let your brain wake up for a second.
Yeah.
And just that little amount of not doing something at every moment is enough.
You're not like stimulating yourself so instantly. You're letting like
so
brain.
We've shared this before. There's people who before they go to bed, they kind of do this analysis of themselves. They're unhappy how they acted with their kids. They're unhappy with certain things, and that's the most amount of like level of hate they have or dissatisfaction with themselves, right? They're judging themselves on that day. With me, it usually happens in the mornings when but I believe it's because the brain's not awakened yet, right? So like in the morning, if I wake up too early and didn't have a good night's sleep and I'm brushing my teeth, the 10 minutes that I'm in the bathroom getting dressed and brushing my teeth, I'm very dissatisfied with myself. I'm not proud of anything I've done. I feel like a loser. But then I get out of the room, I get coffee, and I'm fine again. And I believe that's because the brain's still asleep. So I started implementing this thing where it's like the alarm goes off, spend 2 minutes just being awake with your eyes open and just not thinking about anything. Like let your brain wake up, and that's been enough to just feel okay, And I think I need to start implementing a little bit more towards the side of meditation, just to kind of stop letting those neurons fire.
I kind of do that practice at the end of the night. Like sometimes I'll be like, stop. I got to stop talking about trying to solve problems.
Yeah.
Where her brain, I think, goes, it doesn't really shut off. Yeah.
Yeah. I know.
But
I think it's a mom thing.
It is. I always tell them like I can't fall asleep at night because there's a million things to think about and I can't turn off my brain. And then I start thinking about like how guilty I am because I yelled at the kids or
but they probably deserved it.
Yeah, probably. Let's be honest. But it's like, like just constant guilt that's like, oh, did I do this today? I should have done this differently. And then I wake up in the morning though and I feel fine. I'm a great mom.
You start out proud.
Yeah. The day always starts out really good and then by the end. But it's just constant, it doesn't stop. But even in the middle of the night too.
Yeah.
Do you ever just like wake up in the middle of the night?
I don't. No.
I do.
Yeah. Somebody told me to get a notepad out, just have it next to, not even your phone, just like an actual like notepad with pen, and whatever you wake up with, like the thoughts, just write them down, because they almost like you said, like it releases that thought instead of it like just going in a circle in your head. You kind of let it go. You like write it down, let it go.
That works, and because I do that, but I don't do that with gross paper and pen. No,
what if it's cute, like stationery?
No, I don't. I have the tasks app on my phone, and one of the tasks is labeled computer work, and so mornings are computer time for us. And I write everything I need to, like either an email that I read, but I'm like, I'm going to respond to it later tomorrow or something like that, or do that or do that. I just write it all down. Therefore, it doesn't cloud the brain.
Yeah. Then it just takes up that space, and then you're always like trying to remind yourself, okay, don't forget to do that. Don't forget to do that. But if it's like written down somewhere where it's going to remind you, it's a good feeling.
Do you guys have to do stuff like that? I mean, you guys run a huge operation.
I make lists.
You do make lists?
Lots
I
of
do.
lists.
I've always been a list person. Yeah, I like to like check it off.
Check it
Yeah.
out. There's
Lists are
satisfaction,
good.
isn't
Yeah.
there? Just
Little.
it's a
Done.
nice
Do you write things down that you make lists of things you've already
Sometimes.
done?
Yeah, and just mark it off.
Just so you yes, 100%. 100%.
Because you did it, yeah.
If you could
Already
put that
done with
feeling,
the first 5
if you could put that feeling in a pill, I'll take that daily.
of just marking something off. Yeah.
Wake up, done. Isn't it funny when you ask people, "What's your day like?" Like, well, I wake up. Or like, no crap. Of course you wake up.
Done.
What's after that?
Yeah.
That's done.
So you guys have. So you said you worked at a pizza place and you started. How would you define the Wylder? Is it a specialty pizza place or is it something a little bit more broader definition of the theme?
Our take on like our restaurants that we create are places that we ourselves want to eat at is kind of how we envision them.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go from there. So,
I mean, certainly the Wylder was built around the pizza,
yep.
Mm-hmm.
but like vegetables took on a really important role there, and the cocktails and it.
Everything.
Yeah,
Everything's delicious.
it was just like, let's just do something with soul. That was like that's been kind of, I think, the driving like motivation. Like the reason we spell the Wylder the way we do with the why is because we think that's the important question in life, right? Like, why are you doing this? And so
I love that.
we think like everything's important, like all the little details are important. And like one of our mentors, he used to say, we don't compete in the restaurant business. We don't compete with anybody but ourselves because it's too hard. Like we don't, like it's just a really hard thing to do. And so we just want to be like the best version of what we're trying to do,
That's interesting. That's amazing. Do everything with soul. Like, how does that, do you come up with every meal or every cocktail from scratch, or is there just a small bit of inspiration and then you let it kind of become what it wants to become?
Well, it's a collaboration. We have like really great people. Like that's the reason the Wylder and certified work is because of the people that are with us. And so somebody will come to the table and be like, I think we should do this. Great, let's try it, and that's how things get on the menu or like procedures come to be. And it's because like we have people that are around us that are frankly probably smarter than we are.
Is that their role? Is that their job to be like the creative aspect, or is that something you have to also carry like equally? Because that the fear is like, this is your restaurant and the pressure is like, I have to be innovative. Or do you kind of have just a team that kind of collaborate, like just bring something to the table?
It's not really anyone's specific job. I mean, at the end of the day, we have the final say. And like, yes, that's good to go. It's going on the menu. But someone can say, hey, I saw this dish or I made this the other night and I really loved it. Can I do it for you? And we'll say, yeah, let's taste it. And then maybe it's perfect on the first round. Maybe it needs to be tweaked a little bit. And then it.
Yeah. We have to be the stewards of the vision because we're responsible for everyone's money. That's what we tell our folks. But like, look, you have a seat at the table, and if you, like Lizzy just said, if you want to do something, like let's try it, And like we come to the table with ideas, and people are like, ugh, it's not great.
Yeah.
Try again. Is your menu pretty like seasonal? Or do you guys have? Because I feel like I've seen some new stuff.
We change almost all the cocktails twice a year. And wine, we do big overhauls twice a year. Veggies, we only change a couple. Like there's a couple that are super seasonal.
The core stays. Like
Then
the
you
core
kind of
stays strong,
Is there a level of anxiety of coming up with new things on schedule? Or is that more like, hey, I just got that inspiration, let's put it into effect.
Yeah.
You don't have to think like, hey,
Spring and fall.
Spring and fall.
That's it.
That's
and
it.
there's like a 30-day window.
Okay.
And like when things come up, it's like, well, we don't have a name for this cocktail, or we don't like, how are we going to execute this? Like if it's Friday night, how are we going to make this, tower of vegetables that we want to do? Like there might be something we really want to do, but like, you know what? We can't do that because no one wants to wait 30 minutes to eat this particular dish. Right.
That makes sense.
So.
Yeah. So then you guys started certified. When did that open?
It opened in September of 2018.
Also, pretty soon after the restaurant.
Right? Or 2019? 2019.
2019.
2019.
2 years.
It was 2 years after.
Almost 2 years. Exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So that's the bakery, right?
The
bakery.
And that cafe, is it like a...
Yeah, so
Have you never been there?
I actually have not been there. I know. I need to go. You know how infrequently I am downtown, both of us?
It's so hard.
It's really bad.
It's so
we need
hard
to go
get
more
downtown.
often. And I always think about like, oh, I need to go, but yeah. But we do.
We'll
I
come
feel
by.
like
We get it.
Yeah.
Here.
Oh, for sure.
I
It's always
know.
such an outing.
I haven't been there. It looks beautiful too because I always see people like post on Instagram like a
you.
story.
We lived a couple blocks from there, and the space came available. And I'm like, oh, we got it.
It's like Hyde Park area, right?
It's in
yeah.
Hyde Park.
Is that
area.
how
Oh,
it
it
is?
is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How did you guys come up with the badger, the honey badger, the pizza?
The pizza. That's the best.
That has to be the greatest
Yeah.
pizza on earth. It has to be the best combinations.
We had eaten a pizza similar to that at a restaurant, and we like bit into it, and we were like, "Oh my gosh, we have to recreate that
Yeah.
feeling of like,
Yeah.
what is
all
this?
of these flavors together.
The
oh,
mixture
like
of
that's
flavors.
so
Umami.
good.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So we kind of did our own spin and version of it.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, at the end of the day, that's kind of what things are. Like you eat something, you have something somewhere,
Of
you have a
course.
cocktail somewhere, you're like, oh, I need to
Wanna
have that
recreate it.
again,
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
and then you figure out
Absolutely.
your own version of things.
Like there's people in town that are like way better. Like Chris Kamori over at Kin is like he has a level of like creativity and then that we will not probably ever have. But like the components are the same, you know, like there's salt, sweet,
Sure.
Right.
acid, heat,
Yes.
right?
You kind of know like the flavors that people like when they enjoy a dish.
But for some weird reason, like the dough is like rice for sushi. Like it'll make it or break it.
Yeah.
And you're mentioning how you had a bunch of little miniature stations that you were like experimenting with in the earlier stages. Is that?
Yeah. Well, we were just making different. I mean, pizza dough is ultimately bread, right? So like we were just trying to figure out what was like, how do we make our pizza dough? And you know, it was like version 30, and she was like, "Ooh, this is it. This is it."
We tried, like initially we weren't doing a sourdough pizza. That wasn't really the vision, and we were testing all these other different recipes, and they were good, but you didn't never like bite into it and be like, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing."
Yeah.
And then
A
he
guy-
worked at a place that had a whole like bread baking.
Yeah, serious bakery.
Yeah.
And there was a guy that worked there that was like, I have a starter in my fridge. It's really old. It's 50 years old. Do you want some of it? And I was like, yeah. So we took that starter and like, you know, kept it alive, and that's
What's that process? So you take a starter, which is probably the dough
it's
and
fermented flour and water. That's it.
water and flour.
Water
And
and
That's
flour.
it.
it ferments.
Oh, it ferments. So it creates like sugars within it, right? When it ferments.
Yeah, sugar. Eats the yeast.
And then you take a portion of that and you take new flour and water and you just introduce that and let is it bacteria? Is it what grows it?
It grows. Yeah.
Well, so like, let's say you were going to you make a starter from scratch. You take flour and water and you put like a little bit of like, I guess it's probably acid, but like kiwi juice or pineapple juice, just a little bit, and it would start to ferment. And then every time you add flour and water, it grows. So like it will expand, and then you keep feeding it. And
wow, I didn't know that.
It's a living organism at that point.
it is.
It is.
It is.
Like we have to feed it every day.
Like
Wow.
you
It's a
can
pet. You have a pet.
Yeah.
we feed it every
What
day.
do you
and like,
name it?
I don't think we have a name. It's probably bad luck. It's just the starter.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
The original starter's name was 50 Cent. That's what
Nice.
Anton had named.
Nice.
He gave me the starter.
Mini Men. Yeah.
Yeah. And that starter is now 54 years old. Right. So,
How much of the original starter do you still have?
well, I mean, there's always a piece of it in there,
Yeah.
right? But you use it, you add flour and water, it continues to grow. So like the original starter is still, like you just
Yeah.
add to it all the time. But like if you were going to feed a starter, you have to dump it out. If you keep feeding it, you would have to have a bit like, if we had
It
fed
grows
the
and
original
grows and
starter, it
grows.
would like eclipse this house, right? Like, so you have to pour some of it out. And then,
Yeah.
What makes a starter so sought after, like a 54-year-old starter? What makes somebody be like, no, this is special? What is that?
I don't
Because
really
it's
know.
fermented for
Yeah.
54 years.
Extra fermentation, huh? Interesting. And what does that do? What does extra fermentation do? This is mind-boggling. This is like
such
a on a molecular level.
I mean, I think it adds to the flavor. So like if you were to taste a starter that's a day old, that's only fermented for 1 day, it's obviously not going to have the same flavor components as one that's been around for 54 years.
Essentially like a 100-year-old bottle of wine versus one that's 5 years old, right? Whiskey. Maybe a little bit.
I mean, the benefits of fermentation, like when you eat it, like when you eat our pizza dough, like you can eat a whole pizza at the Wylder and you don't like necessarily feel like, oh, I need to take a nap.
That's what I wanted to ask.
It's really digestible, and like so we hear we don't have gluten intolerances, but it's been reported that people that have like trouble eating gluten can eat that pizza no problem, which would make sense because it ferments
because of the sourdough,
because there's a starter, and then it also cold ferments for 48 hours before it ever gets cooked, so it
is that what they're doing in Europe? Because I keep hearing these things that people will eat loaves of bread, they'll eat pasta, which is primarily like a European dish, and they don't feel this bloated, their belly's not extending from it.
The problem with flour, a lot of the flour in America that you like eat with like bread and stuff, is that it's processed. It's really processed.
So in Europe, there's like
you don't have that.
Heritage wheat and
that's some 100-year-old starters. Huh?
I mean, I'm sure.
I mean, it would have to be, right? I mean,
the starter component is just for sourdough.
Oh, okay.
Items though, like you can make a pizza dough or bread and not have that starter, but the starter is what makes it sourdough.
So are all your pizzas made out of sourdough? Is that because I've recently heard that there's a shortage in, I don't know if it's flour or what it is, but like it's forcing a lot of restaurants to transition towards sourdough breads.
There's a shortage of everything.
That's true.
Chicken wings and microchips for cars and
maybe it might be yeast, like dried yeast.
Because
it's a leavener. Like the starter is a leavener. That's what makes it rise as well. So. That's probably what.
But you guys have always done sourdough, so it's not necessarily something you have to adapt to.
Have you guys seen a shortage in like anything like for your restaurant? What is there shortage of?
Pick something.
All of it?
Employees too.
Labor, cardboard. Labor's been hard.
But like foods.
It varies.
Yeah.
It varies like
seasonally,
week to week.
Right now we can't get turkey breast for certified.
A while it was olive oil.
Really? Yeah. Wow, those are such random.
Is it because they're on shipping containers? Is that the whole thing?
I think so.
Yeah,
it has to
be.
It's
the delay in everything.
The hardest thing has been packaging, especially with like the pandemic and everything being to go, and everyone shifted to those models, and then you can't now there's like plastic the resin forks. Shortage.
Yeah, forks and spoons apparently too. You have to like.
Yeah.
I think I walked into Albertsons and got a poke bowl, and you have to like ask them at one of the little places for a fork. They don't have them out anymore because I think they're just like really low.
They'll put it in the blender to mix it so you can just drink it.
It says like if you need a utensil, please ask for one.
That's like McDonald's. Every time you have to ask for ketchup. Like he gets fries and doesn't get ketchup. It's just a silly thing.
Our kids.
What shortage?
I always hate going back to the dark period of COVID, but we had Monty that runs Woodcraft here in Boise. And they're sharing how they kind of went through COVID. What did you guys have to go through owning a restaurant in downtown Boise?
We just had to figure. People still have to eat, right? Right. So we just said, well, we need to make sure that they can, we can feed them to go, and then we need to make sure that we're helping. There's some value. So like people, because everyone was going through a hard time, not just us, right? So we need to make sure that. There's value, like you can feed your family for this, and we need to keep people employed. Like that was it. That was really it. That was the goal. We sat down and we're like, listen, we need to keep people employed. We need to not cut people's wages, and we'll just keep our head above water. That's it. And that was the goal. And it was.
Did you guys have to shut down at all?
We did initially. Yeah.
It was awesome.
How long?
Yeah. Look, it was a month. We all took a month off. Like we waited until we knew that our employees were going to be taken care of with unemployment.
Yeah.
And the minute we were like, let's just shut down for April. It was just made the most sense. It was the, you know,
that was the
hindsight,
hardest month.
It was a smart thing to do.
This is back when people were still sanitizing their Amazon boxes.
Oh yeah.
It
was like right when it got really, really bad. I mean, we stayed open for a while, and then there was just a point where, you know, there was so much unknown, and employees were uncomfortable, and we were like,
that was the litmus test. Like how uncomfortable is everybody? And then when we knew everyone could pay their bills, like we shut down for April. What was it, April maybe? And then
they just like did to go after that.
After that, we reopened with to go, and like the community. That's the great thing about Boise is it have always been really, really supportive of us. So we reopened and we were really busy. But that was the hardest. 2021 was way harder than 2020, I think, because we got back from the break in 2020, and people were like, people were just tired. Like they'd just taken them, it's hard to come back to work after you've been off for a month.
Yeah.
Right? Like it really is like, ooh.
Yeah.
And then people, it's not just here, but everywhere in the country, it seemed like people were like re-examining priorities, right? Like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to,
Yeah, I feel like that happened a lot everywhere.
I think it happened across
the
industries.
It's totally normal. It's like a natural thing to go through.
The people who were finally working from home because they had to were like, I don't want to go back to like the office.
Good luck getting somebody that's now working from home and be like, hey, I'm not putting on pants for this. Like, we're not doing this.
Yeah, I had a lot of friends who had to work from home, and then they were like, I don't want to go back. This is great.
And in retrospect, how many companies are saving money? They don't have to have office spaces. Like
the overhead,
a bunch of I have some of my closest friends that worked at Microsoft in Seattle, and they would let me give me a tour of their facility, and I mean, they have pool tables and open bars and movie theater rooms and a mountain biking shop like right on campus of Microsoft. And then now there's no need for that. They're like, everybody's working. We're all
saving
zooming
money,
in.
Yeah.
That's a multi-million-dollar a year facility. Like you're like, okay.
But it seems like one of the reasons those companies do that, like those tech companies do that, is so that people don't have to leave.
100%.
Yeah.
You create a
want
utopia
them.
So
society.
it seems like, oh, this is so awesome, but I mean,
but really,
is it?
And they said that, right?
The
They're
golden
like,
handcuffs.
They're like,
Yeah,
hey, if you feel like you need to go run an errand outside of the campus during your lunch break to get your bike fixed, no, you don't need to do that. We can get your bike fixed right here.
Exactly.
You can probably get some work done while you're at the counter paying for your bike.
Your wife can sit there. Oh, great. We have a new wife and kid for you right here. AI.
Seriously.
Have you seen Ex Machina?
Uh-uh.
Oh, it's where they took like AI and it evolved into like a human now, and he's dating her, and there's like this litmus test of like, how human are you? And it's just like, this AI is now playing like psychological games with this like psychiatrist, and it's just it's a great. There's nothing creepy, but it's a great.
No, like creepy as in like the way the AI becomes.
Oh no, this is 100% coming for sure in the future.
Oh yeah,
this is
that's
just
why
like
it's creepy. It's like this is already happening.
Is this a show?
It's a movie. I think it's on like HBO. It's a really good movie. It's Ex Machina. It's fantastic. It's just like a lot of mind games from this technology of like, it's great. I don't want to blow anything, but go watch it. It's great. It's a lot of, so you guys have plenty. Now, were you guys both like waiters and waitresses and hosts and bartenders?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I started as a barista, and then I was like a counter girl, host. I mean, all the things. You did more kitchen initially when you started in the industry.
Yeah, but I've done both.
Then, he ended as a director of operations before we came up here.
So you've both been part of the operations and running the operations, and so now this is your first time of like managing. Well, you've managed people, but now it's your whole first time of like starting everything from scratch. Was there one thing that was like the most difficult part that you weren't ready for?
I mean, raising money was hard.
Yeah.
I think, but other than that, like, there wasn't anything that was like, I don't know, like crippling, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's stuff that you obviously have to learn, but like we were pretty fortunate because we helped other people build a lot of restaurants, so we got to make mistakes with other people's money, right? And so
you guys were very well prepared, to start your own.
I think we were, we were pretty well prepared. It's all we had done. We're both college dropouts.
We did.
We made it like we made it like a semester. I don't know that Lizzy ever went to class in college.
Not
Is that where you guys met?
No.
Oh.
No.
What did you guys major in?
What?
I was going for business, but
I think I was an anthropology major. I mean,
you look shocked. Did you know this?
Did I know this?
Yeah, you look shocked.
No, well, because I don't think either of us like we're really that serious about
we
school.
never
It's like,
probably
actually,
asked,
Mark-
hey, what was your major?
Yeah.
Like, I know you didn't go to class, like, so it's like irrelevant.
We just showed up.
Do you remember? Yeah.
You were an English major.
Yeah. Weird.
I think you're the only one with an official, like, solid degree here. Like, everybody else had to, like, improvise.
Yeah, but did I ever use it?
I don't
No.
think you use
Exactly.
Your English is
Even
fine.
then, yeah.
Your English is
I
fine.
had to take English because it was my second language. So I got to graduate with a bachelor's in English.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. But I know, I was going to ask, I remember when you guys started, you were like at the restaurant working all day. Are you still there every day?
I mean, no, not in that capacity.
Yeah.
But we work a lot.
Yeah.
But it's part of our routine.
Right.
I really enjoy it. It
Yeah.
doesn't feel like work to me.
You've recently been able to like.
Yeah,
He
it's
does like
way different.
loops during the day,
Yeah.
but he's
Versus
not cooking
they're, like-
pizzas 7 nights a week.
The first 2 years, like I pulled every pizza out of that
Yeah.
oven, but
Yeah.
now like our people they're way better at it than I am, and so.
Do you still make, like, will you go in there and make the pizza
I
sometimes?
will, but it really
Yeah.
depends on like what's going on in.
Do you enjoy it?
Like
Yeah.
he worked
Yeah.
like
Oh,
last
yeah.
Friday night. He was there making pizzas.
Yeah, yep. She's working at the bakery a lot more, but it's starting to like phase out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. Like I mean, maybe our staff appreciates it. Maybe they're like, "Ugh, these guys again." I don't know, but it's like when you like we're involved, like we're committed. Like our thing is like we don't ever want you to have a really rough shift.
Right.
So like we'll experience that with you. Like so, that's important.
You're in the trenches with them, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah.
Do you guys, I feel like every time we see you guys are always like, even the last time we went on a date night to the Wylder, and I think you were just
was
like, you were
leaving.
just leaving.
Yeah.
And so you guys
I
are
know,
always
we
there.
waved to
And
you,
you're always
yeah.
like,
Well, that's
you know,
what I love.
chatting.
I was gonna say, it was like you're always chatting to people. We always see you walking around talking. I love that.
So now your kids have activities, right? So they're doing swim lessons. I think you were taking your
swim
son to.
lessons.
Like, what does that look like now? Do you guys feel more pressure that like kids are doing stuff, but you also are like so involved in the restaurant? What does the family dynamic look like? Do you guys have like sacred days? Like, hey, we're doing.
I think I struggle with that balance, like mentally, more than he does, on like a daily basis. Like I think in the scheme of things, we're super fortunate, especially now that they're both in school all day. So like we have our days
Yeah.
where, and like evenings can kind of be family time. But it's hard. I struggle with that because I'm like, oh, I need to be around more. Like that's kind of why I'm trying to phase out of certified a little bit more, is so that I, on the weekends, I'm not saying no to birthday parties, or I could take the kids
Right.
to, the
Right.
pumpkin patch or whatever when they're not.
These fly. This one fly
Yeah, we have one
keeps
fly in
flying
there.
over
Yummy
here.
Aren't they
chopsticks.
supposed to be
Yeah.
dead?
Yeah. Where's the swatter? Yeah, it's too cold for them. Why are they still around?
No.
I think with the kids, like we're there when they wake up in the morning. We eat dinner with them. We put them to bed at night, right? Like
That's so important.
I-
Yeah.
there's and if we couldn't do that, they would be okay then too, because there's a lot of like not everybody gets to do that.
Absolutely.
So I think
Yeah.
like work-life balance is like a misnomer. I think it's work-life integration, right? Like, you know, this is like new where people can work like 3 or 4 day weeks or like be Instagram influencers, right? Like that's a new thing, like just now. And like
Right.
for hundreds of years, like
People work.
you were working
Yep.
so that you could survive, right? So to be like, sorry, we can't go to Yellowstone this weekend is like,
Yeah.
but like,
Yeah. Also, yes. Not like,
suck it up. Like
Yeah.
you need some adversity in your life, kid.
Yeah.
We were just talking about how I think we were at some friend's house for dinner, and we were talking about how like it's so hard to find sitters, like solid babysitters that are not gonna flake out on you last minute because it's Friday, right? And we were just talking about like these kids have these jobs that they hated, right? Like, do you remember like having a job when you're 16 years old and you're like, well,
You
I
have to do it, though.
gotta go in every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, like working at Target or something. Like they don't do that anymore. So like, the suck it up mentality is not around anymore.
Yeah.
It's not.
Or like
It'll
even
come
babysitting.
back
Yeah.
though.
You think so?
I think so. I think your kids will have it, right?
Yeah.
Like
They have to. I mean,
the job I had in high school, we used to deliver hay, and then I had a job where I put like hammered signs in the side of the road. Like, I can't believe my parents let me do this because I would like leave on a Friday night to start work at midnight, and I'd finish at like 4 a.m. because I was putting signs on the side of the road, and that's when there was no traffic.
Right.
I wouldn't let my kid drive.
I know.
Midnight to
Oh, yeah.
when you're 16.
Yeah.
Right.
But my parents are like, yeah, go get to work.
Yeah.
Get to
work. See you at 4.
There's something looking at it through the lens of today's society that there's something beautiful about that, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like just like embracing the grind, like embrace the suck. Like that doesn't happen anymore. So
We
yeah,
all did that,
I think we
yeah.
need to bring it up. I just taught Jack, my oldest boy. He just turned 8 last September, and I started teaching him the perspective of like nobody cares, work harder. You know, and that's like a mantra that he's repeating. But you could see his brain's a little confused because he's like, "Wait,
Nobody
nobody
cares?
cares?"
Why
I was
does
like, "No,
nobody care?"
no, your mom and dad love you unconditionally, but nobody cares. So work harder."
We have a shirt that says that hanging in the Wylder office.
Yeah, I have a big tattoo piece across my chest of that.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
I mean, yeah, like, whatever. You can make excuses if you want.
Always, yeah.
And then when they're 6 and 8 years old, it's not like you're gonna.
It's too late. I know what you're saying. It's too late.
You're not gonna be like, get up, get out there and mow the lawn. Like, not yet,
yeah.
right? Because but
Like what?
Oh yeah, they can barely take out the trash without crying.
Yeah, dragging their feet. It's hilarious.
So hard.
So what's next? So you guys got the Wylder going, and it's flourishing beautifully. You got certified, right?
Yep.
What's next for you guys?
Ooh. Do you guys something?
we can't. We got like a couple of projects coming up, but we're not really ready to talk about it yet because it's not like there's a lease. We've signed a lease on one space, but there's a couple others that we're still working through. So, but we're like, when we open these restaurants, we don't really talk about them until like we'll literally be like, we unlock the door and go. So there's like stuff probably that will happen in 2022, like that we're working hard on right now. But
awesome. Anything in this part of town?
Yeah.
Possibly.
Please,
get something,
we need something good in this part of town. It sucks. I'm tired of the village.
Oh man.
We think it looks like there'll be a Wylder in Meridian at some point.
Yes.
I love
That's
that.
my make-a-wish.
It's the future.
That's my make-a-wish right there.
Yeah, I know. We just don't drive down there. Which I mean, it's not that far.
It's not, but like we don't come out here to go eat either. So
Yeah.
Well, because there's nowhere to eat.
I wouldn't come out here to eat either.
We have
honestly.
to Uber Eats everything out here. Because downtown's like, you get a sitter, and you're like, cool, the sitter.
It also
You're on the
has a
clock.
vibe,
and
which
you
is so
drive
cool.
downtown all the way. Yeah, it's a whole thing.
Well, that was always our thing. Is like if we're gonna hire a sitter, like we're paying for the drive down there and the drive back, so might as well go somewhere closer and get like actual like more time for us in eating.
Right.
I mean, we don't eat out.
Yeah.
We just don't.
Yeah, like we just go there. That's hilarious.
Do you find yourselves like? Do you just love the food at your restaurant so much? You guys just eat there all the time?
Not really.
No.
I mean,
yeah, we do.
we eat there a lot, but we don't go and like sit and eat. I cannot sit and eat. She'll take the kids in and stuff, but like we'll eat pizza once a week. We'll pick it up and take it home.
Yeah.
I mean, you eat pizza almost every day when you're there.
Yeah, I think
You'll
it's
eat
good
like
for
a
you.
slice of pizza.
Good for you. Yeah.
You heard it live.
It's a fermentation.
Yeah. Probiotic.
It's 54-year-old starter. It's good.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. Well,
Yeah,
awesome.
it's
Well, go ahead.
Amazing. I love the pizza. Well, all the food there.
Thanks.
Also, I always feel like I know celebrities whenever like people are like, do you want to go to the Wylder? Have you been to the Wylder yet?
Yeah.
I'm like, I know the owner.
It's awesome.
The owner stalked me on Instagram. I was her first Idaho friend.
It's hilarious.
It's like, oh, Lizzy and David, yeah.
There's a level of happiness that you guys bring people in restaurant industries
Yeah.
after everybody just had to like not Uber, but do takeout during the pandemic. And you're like, oh, because every time like you order like a burger from whatever, it just doesn't taste the same.
Yeah.
There's not enough sauces on it. There's not enough whatever. And then you're like, hey, this is better than me cooking at home, sure. But then like as soon as like you can come and sit down, there's this level of happiness of like that you guys bring people. And I hope you guys understand that because that's a very special feeling.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
And
Thanks.
I'm glad you guys stuck around through all of that and came on top and started multiple places. And we're excited for Meridian. So hope you guys go check out the Wylder certified. Anywhere else you guys want them to? You guys, which guys is Instagram? The Wylder.
It's just the Wylder, yeah.
The Wylder with a Y.
Mm-hmm. With a Y.
With a Y.
Awesome.
Wylder with a Y.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Delicious.
Well,
That's really
thanks so
cool.
much, guys. We appreciate
Yeah.
talking with
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Thanks for having us out here.
All right. Bye.
Bye.